Good morning. Welcome to Walk Before You Run. Today we're going to look at numbers again. Yesterday we started looking at numbers, talking about Balak and Balaam, and looking at Balak's desire to curse Israel and wanting to summon Balaam to do that dirty work for him. And then we get Balaam going off to see the king of Moab. And I posed the question yesterday, why would God block the path for him to go and be angry with him, like it states in verse 22 of Numbers 22? If he, in the previous verse, had said, if the men have come to summon you, get up and go with them, but do only what I tell you to do. And then it says, Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the officials of Moab. So I posed the question, why was God angry with Moab? And so if we look at what God says to him, it says that night God came to Balaam and said to him, if the men have come to summon you, get up and go with them, but do only what I tell you to do. Now, in studying this, one theologian says that the Greek word that was used to talk about Balaam means that someone is eager to go and is in a hurry without thinking about the directions of another. And so it states that he said the pronoun is sometimes used to denote a person's doing a thing out of his own head without regard to the direction of another. And this is Mr. Shackford. And so if he is doing this out of his own head and without regard to what God is saying, it means that he is thinking about self-gain and self-profit. And so that puts him out of the will of God, because he didn't even wait for the men to come and summon him. He just heard them, got up and went with them. God said, if they summon you. And so this shines a light on his heart. What was his motive? Where is your thought processes when you do something? You say you're doing it for the Lord. What is your motive? Is it for self-gain? Is it for notoriety? Is it to prove a point? What is your motivation? What is my motivation for doing something that, God has allowed me to do, allowed you to do? It's all about the heart. What's in your heart? What's your reason? Sometimes it's not about the what. Sometimes it's about the why. Why are we doing whatever it is that we're doing? And so God's anger was kindled because he was going, and the angel of the Lord took his stand in the road as his adversary. Now he was riding on the donkey, and this is verse 22, and his two servants were with him. The donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand. So the donkey turned off the road and went into the field, and Balaam struck the donkey to turn it back onto the road. Now, sometimes we are so busy thinking about and looking at the things that we're doing, that we want to do, that we're not even paying attention to what God is telling us. We're not even listening. We're not focused. Our eyes are not on him. Our eyes are on what we are doing, what we want to do, where we want to go. And this is what it seems like Balaam, this is the position that it seems like he's in. That he is so busy thinking about what he's going to do, he's not thinking about why. Why is the king calling me? and seeking God and saying, okay, when I get there, what do you want me to say? But he is just out of the barn and running, trying to get to where he's going. It says that the donkey saw the Lord, the angel of the Lord, and Balaam didn't. And yet you had consulted God before you left, and you are not paying attention. You're not your mind is not on trying to see God in front of you so that you can follow His lead. You're not even paying attention. Sometimes we go through life, we're not even paying attention to what's going on. We're not even looking through the lenses of God. Good morning. I like it. I like it. Yeah. Jen says Balaam was caught up in his thoughts and his own motives, that he was angry that the donkey wouldn't move. He didn't see the angel because of himself. Absolutely. And a lot of times we don't see God. We don't see him right there in front of us for ourselves. And so I'm glad you did your homework. I asked you guys to read it for yourself, study it. You answer the question, and I'm glad you did that because that's exactly where I got when I was looking at it. You know, sometimes we get in the way. We get in the way of God using us. We get in the way of our own blessing. We get in the way of God using us in a mighty way because we get caught up in ourselves instead of being caught up in God. You're absolutely right. And my thing is, my question right now is, how many times did God present himself and only did the donkey saw? How many times did God present himself and only the donkey saw? Just think about that. You might have to go back and read some more, reread. Absolutely. It was three times. Three times he presented himself, and yet he didn't see. And so sometimes when things are happening in our lives and it seems like um, roadblocks are put up once, and then we keep going, keep doing what we're doing, keep doing the same thing, and it seems like another roadblock, that might be a sign to stop and seek guidance from God, because he might be trying to show you something, trying to get your attention, and you so busy, so full of you don't even see it. And sometimes when the roadblocks are put up, it's to save us from ourselves. And so we can't get mad at the people who it seems like are doing the blocking. Sometimes, and not all the time, but sometimes God is using those people to stop us from getting in a position that is going to be detrimental. Wow. Yeah. I love it. Jen said that's how many times Balaam struck the donkey. Then the Lord allowed his eyes to become open to see the angel. Yeah. Sometimes after we've done some stupid, dumb things, um, God will allow our eyes to be open so we can see just how foolish we've been. But what I want you to go to verse 27. It says, when the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it lay down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he struck the donkey with the staff. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and it said to Balaam, what have I done to you that you have struck me these three times? Balaam said to the donkey, because you have made a fool of me. I wish I had a sword in my hand. I would kill you right now. Now, listen to Balaam's words to the donkey. Doesn't it strike you as strange that Balaam hears the donkey talks back to the donkey, and it does not seem out of the ordinary for him. This is my first time in the Word of God seeing and hearing about an animal talking to a person and a person talking back to that animal. But, sometimes when the extraordinary happens in our lives, we don't even realize that it's extraordinary at that moment. We are wrapped up in what's going on. But sometimes the extraordinary, the supernatural, reveals itself right in front of our faces. And we're so caught up in self that we don't even recognize it. Some people say, well, miracles are not happening like they used to. But yes, they are. We are so caught up in ourselves, in stuff we've made, stuff we've done, that we don't even see the hand of God moving right there in front of our faces. But look at what Balaam says. If I had a sword, I'd kill you, talking to this donkey who is doing the work of the Lord. Now, the donkey is doing the work of the Lord instead of the servant of the Lord doing the work of the Lord. But look at this. Look, keep reading. It says, but the donkey said to Balaam, am I not your donkey, which you have ridden all your life to this day? Have I been in the habit of treating you this way? And he said, no. Sometimes in the middle of the roadblocks, in the middle of things that seem like, or people that seem like they keep getting in our way, keeping us from doing what we want to do. Sometimes in the middle of that, God has a way of humbling us so that we can start to listen to him, so that we can start to think, so we can start to feel what he wants us to feel. 31 says, then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his drawn sword in his hand. And he bowed down, falling on his face. Now notice that Balaam does what the donkey did. The donkey fell down to the ground. Look in verse 27. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it lay down under Balaam. So it bowed, it gave reverence. It gave deep reverence to God. And so then Balaam has to follow the lead of a donkey, of an ass. Sometimes God has a way of humbling us that, the very people, the very things that we think are beneath us, God has a way of making us have to humble ourselves and follow suit. The roles have shifted. The donkey first gave reference to God. And to me, that's what the birds do. They get up in the morning, they singing. I mean, before the sun is even up good, they are singing and happy. And to me, they're just praising God. And we get up mad, ticked off, grumpy, don't want to get up. It's Monday. We ought to be grateful that it's a day that our eyes can open. Instead, we get up sometimes just complaining. But we ought to do like Balaam did. We ought to follow the lead of God's creation and, pay homage to him, give reverence to him, and listen to him and say what he tells us to say, because that's what the donkey was doing. God said XYZ, the donkey said XYZ. God said ABC, the donkey said ABC. And, the angel of the Lord stood there. The donkey said, I'm giving reverence. And so Balaam had to follow suit. Sometimes it's just a matter of stopping and thinking and get out of your own head and get out of your own way so that God can use you to the fullest. Verse 33 says, the donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If it had not turned away from me, surely just now I would have killed you and let it live. Hmm. Then Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned, for I did not know that you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now, therefore, if it is displeasing to you, I will return home. The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, go with the men, but speak only what I tell you to speak. So Balaam went on with the officials of Balak. 36 says, when Balak heard that Balaam had come, he went out to meet him at Moab, on the boundary formed by the Arnon and at the farthest point of the boundary. Balak said to Balaam, did I not send to summon you? Why you? Why did you not come to me? So, Balak is saying, look, I sent for you the other day. Why you taking so long? And so, now he has to think about what the angel of the Lord just said to him, what just happened. That is fresh on his mind. That is going to make a indelible point in his thinking processes so that he does not forget what he is supposed to do. Sometimes some things happen in our life to make a point so that we don't forget what God has called us to do. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for doing your homework. Now, homework. There were some oracles that Balaam decreed. Today, earlier in the morning, get up and read those oracles and see what did God tell Balaam to do, and then see if Balaam did what he was supposed to do. Because remember, God told him, only say what I'm telling you to say. Only do what I'm telling you to do. Because it's going to be tempting for Balaam to do what the king wants him to do. Because think about the earthly power the king has. So it would be tempting to do what the king says as opposed to what God has said. But remember what just happened to Balaam. It should be fresh on his mind. The angel of the Lord said, if that donkey hadn't have done what I told him to do, you'd be dead right now. So now if the donkey did what God told him to do, and that spared the rider's life, then the donkey was only the carrier of the message of God. That's what we are, the carriers of the message of God. So, we might be saving somebody's lives. We might be saving our own life, but we might be saving somebody's life if we do exactly what God tells us to do and say what he tells us to say. So remember that as you go forward. Thank you for joining me today for Walk Before You Run. Don't forget to do your homework. I'll see you again tomorrow right here in the book of Numbers, and we'll have some more discussions. And tell somebody to join you tomorrow and tell them what they're supposed to do for homework before they come. All right. Don't forget that we are all blessed to be a what? You got it. I'll see you next time.